anything, any creative endeavor, this podcast, even just creating content, creating videos, like all of this, just putting something out in the world, like something that you created, something that was not there. And then from your mind, you made it. And then whatever it is, whether it's content or a physical product, and then you put it out, like there's going to be a reception. And like the fear of how that ultimately is going to be received is intimidating and it's scary. But if you really want to do that thing, you've obviously got to do it. I let that fear definitely prevent me from doing things a lot in the past. And it's something I've like finally kind of learned to just like the first step of, just like with jiu-jitsu, of not sucking at it is you got to suck some first. So it's like, yeah, if you put it out and it's not the best thing in the world and it's not that great received, well, like those are getting your reps. You know, you got to get those reps and you got to do shit for it to be successful at all.
Welcome back to the pod. My name's Kenny, here with my co-host Matt, and we've got a special guest today.
Founder and creator of Flowhold,
Mr. Noah Oliver of Flowhold. Welcome to the pod, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. So how long you been training?
I started training in 2007. So I think we're at about 16 years at this point of
Gi?
but pretty evenly both. I got into jiu-jitsu through MMA, but my jiu-jitsu coach was like old school Brazilian. So even getting ready for MMA fights, we were training three days a week in the gi at least. So like kind of started always gi and no gi both, and then traveled around a lot. You know, I started when I was like 17, so then moved away for college, then went in the military, moved around a bunch. So I've trained at a bunch of different places, and then just depending on the school I was at, some are more focused on no gi, some more on gi. Right. So kind of had phases of my life that were more heavy on one or the other, but I think pretty close to like 50-50 throughout my whole life. Yeah.
Me personally, I've always been more gi than no gi, even though I do. So I'd probably say 80% gi and then 20% no gi. And that's just the fact of scheduling wise. When I'm working, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to train, I want to belt up. And if you're old school jiu-jitsu gym, no gi ain't going to rank you.
Yeah.
They won't rank. If you're just doing no gi, you're not going to belt up.
Yeah.
You have to put the kimono on. So I was like, if I only got so many classes per week that I could do, I would make sure they were gi. But man, 50-50. I love doing no gi. It's definitely I'm weaker at no gi than gi.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. These days it's a lot more no gi. It's probably 95% no gi, and a lot of that's just like scheduling wise. Like the time that I make to the gym is no gi, and you know, kind of like our crew of the more of like black belt guys that we get together and train. It's a lot of no gi stuff.
So you're a black belt?
Yeah. So I got my black belt. It's been like a year, coming up on 2 years now.
2 years.
I got my black belt. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you find that what do you find funner, or what do you find more technical?
You know, I mean, obviously, you know, people say the gi is more technical, and I mean, you have more tools to work with, so you know, it does make sense in that way. But I mean, you got the leg lock game that's not so much in gi. I don't think, and then like once you really start diving into more like wrestling stuff, there's a lot of technicality that goes with that. That's more applicable in no gi. And then again, you can counter that with there's judo stuff in gi. So it's like, I don't know if one's more technical than the other. I personally, right now in this moment, because I'm doing more no gi, I find that more fun. Because when I put the kimono on, I'm like, oh shit, this is a little like, give me that arm back, you know, like so. I think it's just kind of like whatever, you know, whichever one you're doing more at the moment probably is more fun because you're more comfortable and you feel like you're better. When you're better at something, it's usually a little more fun.
I think that MMA is a huge part of why no gi is more popular than gi, obviously, because it's pretty much no gi fighting, right?
Yeah.
If they still allowed guys to fight in the gi like Hoya did in UFC 1 and UFC 2, I think the gi would be a lot cooler.
Do you think anyone would opt to do that?
With the chokes from side, if you were like so good at like getting on top position.
Yeah. But it's like if you're in the gi and they're not, I feel like it's a disadvantage. Yeah. Because they can like
you can't shoot on them because they could have collars.
Yeah.
I feel like pants though in no gi is beneficial. That's like why Eddie Bravo still wears gi pants. Yeah. Just grip wise, lockdown, stuff like that. Like good luck.
Yeah. I feel like if I could get smother somebody, or I can get in side control or top half, and I could like feed a lapel choke on someone in gi and then land strikes while I'm doing it. I don't know, man. Like I think it has its ebbs and flows of which would be better. But I feel like if it was more prevalent and that was an option, I feel like there would definitely be, it'd be a lot more popular.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I would love to see that. I feel like one championship would allow that. Like they're kind of doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, let a guy fight
more old school. Yeah, yeah.
Give it a shot.
I don't
know. What was your introduction to jiu-jitsu? Like what made you want to start training?
So I started Muay Thai first. I kind of always, I did like some Taekwondo when I was young and stuff. My dad was a boxer. He boxed like Golden Gloves. So we would kind of like just mess around at the house. Where I was I grew up like outside of Atlanta. There wasn't really, much, there was no boxing gym around or anything like that. But yeah, so I was always like interested in combat sports, kind of wanted to do it. My mom was super resistant towards that. So it was just kind of like stuff messing around at the house with my dad. And then when I got like a little older, my family, we moved down to West Palm Beach, Florida when I was 14 years old. So I went to high school down there and then kind of like around 16, get a little more independence, can drive and stuff. And so then I kind of, and just like kind of coming out of adolescence, like growing into a young man and like kind of being like, oh, I would like to be able to defend myself. And it's kind of right at the time when Ultimate Fighter was coming out. And so then it's like, there's more light on MMA and realizing like what that is. And so I basically found this little, like, it's like this karate studio, but they rented out different time slots to like different martial arts. So there was like, so they had like an hour at a time. They'd be like boxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu Jitsu. So me and my buddy Dan went down there. We did like a trial thing, and we did like one of each class. And that was the first Jiu Jitsu class I ever took. This dude Butterfly, that was like his nickname. He was a purple belt at the time. Taught the class, and I just remember taking it and being like very confused, And I remember him teaching a triangle, and looking back now, knowing what I know now, like I'm teaching the triangle and showing it, but just like the first time, just not knowing why the arm is going there and what's the and like I'm like okay, like it's cool, it's fun, but then I just loved the Muay Thai class. Did the Muay Thai, super awesome Muay Thai crew from Thailand, had like a bunch of fought like legit with bound ropes, like so just like really cool figure and like super stoic, like calm, like almost like what you'd imagine like a Mr. Miyagi type figure. A real and I'm like, this is my sensei. Yeah. So I just gravitated towards the Muay Thai, and there's a cool like tight crew.
And you got a Muay Thai frame. You're like, slender, like me, like sure, so it's like you probably adapted good to kicking high.
And that Taekwondo that I did when I was little that I thought was kind of, or like grown into, thought was kind of, turns out I think I developed some sort of like kicking dexterity when I was a kid. So then I was like kind of had a natural inclination towards Muay Thai. So it was like, I started, I felt like I was like decent at it. So did that, but then was into MMA, was into like I said, Ultimate Fighter's coming up. I'm like watching UFC stuff on Spike TV back then. And, so then probably like 6 months there. And then my Muay Thai crew, they opened up an Extreme Couture MMA gym in my town in Wellington, Florida, which is like 30 minutes from Palm Beach, Florida. So they opened up this MMA gym, and my Muay Thai crew went to become the main instructor, the Muay Thai instructor there. So I got to follow him over to that gym. And then I got introduced to Marcelo Ribeiro, who was my first jiu-jitsu coach. So he was running the jiu-jitsu and the MMA program over there. And then, so now I was at this gym, and at the original karate school, the thing was like, you had to pay per the martial art. So like, that's why I only had to that's why I could only do one. Like, it's not like I could do the Muay Thai and the boxing and jiu-jitsu. I would have loved to have done that.
They didn't have combo.
Right. Yeah. So it was like, you're paying an extra, over, now I was like 16, 17 paying with my own like money, so it's like I only had money.
I can't mow these many lawns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can only afford to do the one. So then I went to the MMA gym, and then I wound up getting a job as like the desk guy at the gym. So I got to train for free, and that's when I was like, it was like full reign. And so I met Marcelo, and then Marcelo was even like more of a sensei. Like he really then took me like under his wing, and like it was cool because the gym had just opened. He had a handful of students that he'd been teaching like in a racquetball court with some mats. So there was only like a few guys that he was like super close with. So it was like a good, as someone like coming into it, I got to come in and not kind of get like lost in the sea of other people. There was it was a small, they just started, small group. So it was like, I got a lot of attention from Marcelo, and I think he saw that I was like into it, and I was like wanted to learn. And so immediately it was like, took me in, it was like, hey, we're going to compete, we're going to this, you should fight, you should do all this. And then it just was like off to the races from there. And I started jiu-jitsu and I was like, I love this.
You mentioned you were in the military and whatnot. I know that, well, first of all, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. We asked some of our listeners for suggestions of who we should interview, and your name popped up. That's why I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I'd seen you pop up in both my personal Instagram feed and the BJJ Balance Instagram feed. So I was familiar with your stuff. And I'm like, oh, I follow this guy. And then I was like, cool. I reached out to you. So thank you, first of all, for coming on. But
dude, it was honestly an honor to be asked.
Yeah. So when trying to do some research about like, things we talked to you about and whatnot, I read that this was like veteran-owned company and whatnot. What branch of military were you in?
So I was in the Navy.
Obviously, you're not from San Diego. Like, how'd you end up here?
So the Navy is what ultimately brought me out to San Diego. But that was always like what I wanted to get out to San Diego. So my mom is born and raised here down in Chula Vista.
Oh, cool.
And my dad was actually in the Navy. They met out here. My sister was born in San Diego. And then shortly after my sister was born, they moved back to Atlanta, where I was born. So so my mom, born and raised here until she was 31 years old, then moved back to Atlanta. And just growing up, we would come visit the family out in San Diego, and like just like my mom talking about like childhood, and I always like really loved the beach. And then as I got like a little older and kind of like got into like skateboarding and punk rock music and like all this Southern California shit, and I was just like, it just seemed like San Diego was like the place to be. So I kind of had this like romantic idea of San Diego from when I was like sort of a kid. Yeah. And the Navy brought me out here, and then I got out in 2018, and it was kind of no question of like staying. And like I got my family out here, so it's very home like. And my parents, they moved, like I said, we moved down to West Palm Beach. They spent 10 years there and then moved back to Atlanta. So it was like, there's not even like an established like home so much. So it's like now at this point in my life, like I've been here, 10 years. And so it's pretty home.
I feel you.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration for starting Flow Holder? Have you always had like that, like creating a creative mindset of like creating gear, or like what made you feel like, what was the inspiration for it?
Yeah. To some degree, yeah. When I first started MMA, I actually like I never did anything with it, never went, but at 18 years old, like I created this fight brand. Like I did a bunch of sketches. I made like a MySpace page for it, but it never did anything. And I just led like, and it was kind of honestly like a similar motif. It was like the logo that I did was like American traditional tattoo style. So that was, looking back, kind of something that was always like a seed there, but it wasn't anything like serious that was there over the years. It was like, I'm going to start a brand one day. But it was really like I was getting out of the military, and I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And you got the GI Bill after you get out, so it'll like pay to go to school. I had already finished my undergrad because Florida has an awesome program where if you do well enough in your GPA SAT, like you can go to college, state college for free. So I did that, and then knowing I wanted to go in the military, went in the military. It wasn't all it was cracked up to be, or what I thought it was gonna be. I'm glad I did it. It was great experiences, but it was like definitely something I didn't want to do for the rest of my life. And then I was just like, all right, I'll use my GI Bill because I can go to school and get paid, and kind of like use this time to figure out what I actually want to do. And then entrepreneurship to some degree like seemed alluring. And I love, the jiu-jitsu and MMA. Like it's like my main hobby. It's the thing I love the most. But I wasn't sure. I didn't seem like I wanted to like teach or like do that kind of thing. I didn't really know. So I was like taking all this time, and then honestly with like starting a brand, I had that desire to do it, but I was pretty like nervous. Like I was scared to basically present myself as someone that, like, who am I to create, there's great brands that already exist. Like, what am I going to add to the table? And like the idea of taking those first steps and like presenting them to people, and like the fear of getting that like brought back to me. And I'm like, hey guys, like I'm going to make this thing. And they're like, well, that sucks. There's already a bunch of great things. So like, why do you think you're going to, have anything to offer?
When you have the brands like, Tap Out was like flying, and all these like introduction MMA type brands, Affliction, you know, all these crazy brands are out there. That to me, it takes such stones to be an entrepreneur, to like just take that leap and bet on yourself.
Yeah.
I find that kind of hard with like me with the Oast Nation thing. I'm kind of like scared almost to like, if it's, hey man, you need to make merch, you need to make shirts, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, I feel weird asking people, because maybe I come from like a 9-to-5 environment. I feel like asking people to buy my stuff or like pushing my stuff and hoping like, I'm going to put this order out. Hopefully it takes off. And then you know, you're going to have trials and errors where, oh, that one didn't hit. And you know what I mean? You're going to take it on the chin a little bit.
Yeah. It's not just with brands, with clothing, like with products, but like anything, any creative endeavor, this podcast, even just like creating content, creating videos, like all this, just putting something out in the world, like something that you created, something that was not there. And then from your mind, you made it. And then whatever it is, whether it's content or a physical product, and then you put it out, like there's going to be a reception. And like the fear of how that ultimately is going to be received is intimidating, and it's scary. But like, if you really want to do that thing, you've obviously got to do it. And like, I let that fear definitely prevent me from doing things a lot in the past. And it's something I've like finally kind of learned to just like, the first step of just like with jiu-jitsu of not sucking at it is you got to suck some first. So it's like, yeah, if you put it out and it's not the best thing in the world and it's not that great received, well, like those are getting your reps. You know, you got to get those reps and you got to do shit for it to be successful at all.
What do you think your biggest obstacles have been as far as building a brand?
I mean, myself.
Okay.
Like self-doubt, initiation, like getting like geared up to actually like do something, like overcoming the resistance of actually like getting stuff done. Learning to be able to operate not just out of like those moments of inspiration. You know, it's like there's times where you're like, you know, you get in the flow for whatever reason, something comes up and it's just like easy to create. It's easy to do things. It's easy, even not just creative stuff, but just like general work. All right, yeah, I'm knocking out all these emails. I'm writing these people back. And then sometimes it's just like, fuck, dude, this is like the hardest thing in the world. Like why? And just kind of getting into that first step, like all that stuff. I don't feel like with Flowhold, at least, like there's a lot of, it's not like my back's against the wall, me against the world. Like all these people are trying to prevent me from, you know, expressing myself. It's all me. Everything's me, you know? So it's like, I think, you know, that is, yeah. And a lot of parallels with jiu-jitsu and shit. It's like, you know, your training partners, even your, you know, competitive, if you're in a tournament, you're competing at someone, like that's not ultimately your competition. Your competition is yourself.
Right. We were talking that before you even got here. We were like, people want jiu-jitsu content. People want jiu-jitsu stuff. Whenever anybody who does jiu-jitsu or trains jiu-jitsu, when you're listening to JRE, Joe Rogan, and he starts talking jiu-jitsu, you're like, all right, like finally he's talking about it. He's put the crossbow down, Joe. You're finally talking about what we're here for. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Eddie Bravo's on there. Oh, maybe he won't talk about space and he'll talk about jiu-jitsu a little bit. You're like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like every time he brings it up or talks about any kind of MMA fighter, you're just hoping he talks about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and all of those clips are they just get spread like wildfire. So it's like same thing with building a brand or company. I think people love this sport so much that it's going to. People are going to want to watch. People are going to want to listen. They want a podcast to listen to. Yeah. They want gear to wear. Mm-hmm. They want it. And so it's like the sport sells itself.
I think there's been like a I don't know, a watch. No, it's a watch. I'm trying to think of the right term. There's been a almost like a lockout of like it is Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So like to have this American influence come into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I feel like that was kind of pushed away for a long time. I see less of that now with companies like Flowhold and a few others and whatnot, that it's not that if you look at like shoirogis or like some, like they have that old school Brazilian jiu-jitsu look to them with the patches all over everything. You know what I mean? Does it make sense? Yeah. And I feel like the aesthetic of like American culture is a little more clean, or even like our streetwear is very like, you know, clean lines, you know, very basic script, you know, stuff like that, or you know, the traditional tattoo work and whatnot. Like everything has like a specific American look,
It's
if you will,
an American spin on their stuff. It's
and
not like crazy.
I think until recently that wasn't as accepted in the marketplace. I feel like there's been like not resurgence, but like a charge for like American jiu-jitsu in general, not even the sport, to kind of like to pick up. I feel like there's with the Gordon Ryans and things like that, there's a lot of, I don't know, you're seeing not just Brazilians at the top of every leaderboard in these IBJJF tournaments and stuff like that. And I think if you even step out and look at just like the no-gi side of jiu-jitsu, you look at the EBIs, you look at the ADCCs, you're seeing a lot of these like American wrestler converted to jiu-jitsu guys doing really well, or, you know, they're just, I don't know, maybe that plays an influence on.
Right. I personally, I don't know how you guys both feel on this, but to me, this whole American jiu-jitsu thing is like taking over, because like I train American jiu-jitsu and this, that, and this, and like that, and yeah, you're Americans and we train jiu-jitsu, but to me, the sport is the sport.
Oh yeah.
Like people who play basketball in Europe are getting really good at basketball now.
Yeah.
They're not
calling it European basketball.
They're not changing the name. I know now we call football, and it's not what soccer is, right? Yeah. We changed the name. We call it soccer.
Right.
But like, I don't think that's respectful to the art to change the name. We are Americans that get very, very good at jiu-jitsu.
I agree with you there.
I feel like it is now, even though Brazilian jiu-jitsu they changed the name to Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was listening to a podcast that it was just called jiu-jitsu, and they changed it to Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So it's like, I see what some people are trying to do, but like, you're just, you know, it's more top game heavy, takedowns and stuff like that. You're adding the wrestling base to the jiu-jitsu, but when it all comes down to it, we're still all doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. A triangle is a triangle. The leg attack game, you mean, there's been a lot of Brazilians that are very good at attacking the legs also. So like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't, I think the name American Jiu-Jitsu, it still should be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I agree with you there. I think what I was more referencing is just the fact that Americans aren't, there's a type of music that I used to DJ and whatnot in my early 20s and late teens, and it's from the UK. And when I was coming up and like trying to blow up in that scene, the UK, the Brits basically would lock out American artists and whatnot. So if let's say you were producing a track and whatnot and you try to submit it to record labels, if you were American, they wouldn't even look at it. It could be better than anything that was out right then, but just because you weren't British, they didn't want anything to do with it. So what I'm getting at is the parallel. When I say American Jiu-Jitsu, I don't mean a different style of jiu-jitsu, but more or less, I feel like the sport has been dominated by Brazilians for so long that now we're starting to see a shift where maybe it's evening out. And I feel like American culture is starting to influence the brands as well.
So we'll ask Noah this. Do you think that, because, you know, for a long time, Brazilians would escape, they would leave Brazil and open schools in America, and that's how they become financially successful. It's a blueprint.
I like you said escape.
I didn't mean escape. They all go back for vacation, but you tell them, beautiful. They move to America.
Yeah, there's more opportunity. There's more money.
More money here, and they build a school and they build a brand, and they you know, and then they go back and visit their family.
Absolutely.
But they come here for a better life.
Yep.
Do you think that they're kind of like, you know, I would say like protective over jiu-jitsu? Like they don't like the fact that like it's getting so popular here, and there's a lot of more American black belts. There's a lot more American dominant athletes. It's like it's harder to come over now.
Yeah.
Because you know,
more competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think most people would honestly answer that they would want it to, the popularity and it for the sport to grow, but to keep it tighter at the Brazilian core. Yeah, I think if people are honest about that, and that's, you know, that's not a Brazilian thing, that's American. It's if it was American jiu-jitsu and then it was a smaller sport and then it started growing internationally and we'd probably be happy it was growing, but then we wouldn't want the other people like
Right, 'cause
in
it's
charge
a
and teaching. And yeah, of course. I mean, that's just that's human nature. But I would say too, I mean, I look at it's like it's submission grappling. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And certain submissions may be innovated, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were being done a long time ago, then fell out of fashion. And you see these like old like sculptures and artwork of submissions we're using today, and like it's all Brazilian jiu-jitsu comes from Japanese judo and jiu-jitsu and stuff. So it's like it's always going to be evolving. It's always going to be changing. At this point in time, 100% the Brazilian influence is like a massive part of why we do what we do, and you can't ever take that away, and you can't make it American jiu-jitsu and erase the Brazilian influence, and they're due their respect for that. But regardless of whatever it is, like grappling is just a beautiful art. It's an amazing activity, and I hope that more and more people continue to do it. And I think it's cool. Like I think now what separates a lot of the different is just like the rule sets, and I think you're seeing like with ADCC type things, and then like more representation internationally throughout like MMA. You're seeing a lot of these rules shift a little bit, and it's kind of evolving into submission grappling, and just like from sambo to jiu-jitsu to wrestling, and like wrestlers are learning submissions and they're starting to it's just grappling, like ultimately.
It's more of like a unified rule set through ADCC, I think is neat. Yeah. And I think when they were creating that rule set too, we've kind of briefly touched on this before, and I don't know the people that listen how far into that they are. I know some people that are into jiu-jitsu, they don't know anything about ADCC, which I think is kind of weird. But the rule set or splitting the time for the first 5 minutes, there's no points, and then you can't. If you sit in a guard, you get penalized. I think they're trying to not make it advantageous for any one discipline, but kind of like make it even across the board. So like you have to take them down. Yeah. So get your wrestling chops up, get your takedown chops up.
I think people who don't do jiu-jitsu, people who do jiu-jitsu rather, and they're not really into ADCC is because it feels like it's not attainable for them. Okay. And so it's like, I have to go to the ADCC trials. I got to win that. Yeah. So they're like, that's not for me. And then they have no desire to watch it. And then so they're like,
but they're smart and they're changing that now with the opens.
Right.
Yeah. The opens are blowing up like crazy, and it's an awesome tournament, and it's a good structure, and it's a great organization.
I went to the Orange County Open. It was a blast.
Yeah. I think that like when I remember being online and I saw your name Flow Hold, I'm like, damn it, what did I think of that, dude? That's such a good that's a compliment right there. Thank you. That's a good name for a brand. Yeah. And I was like, dang, toe hold flow. This is low hanging fruit. And he just grabbed it. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, ADCC definitely is, I feel like, I remember when I was like in the blue belt stuff, I was like, oh, I mean, that's not for me. I don't do no gi enough. And
dude, but there's blue belts that are winning the advanced divisions and whatnot in these opens.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a lot, mostly those are people that have been training since they were kids.
Yeah, okay.
So like, dude, a 16-year-old blue belt is gonna fuck up most hobbyist like brown belts. Yeah, you know what I mean?
You got Mr. Frig Party over here, Kenny.
What's that kid, the kid that drives the red S10 goes to?
Oh fuck, I don't know. He's a monster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these kids have green belt, orange belt, green belt with a stripe, all these different, I don't even know the junior belts, but
7 belts. And
if all these kids, like if you're an adult and you're a blue belt and you're like, I'm about 2 years in, I got my blue belt, I'm going to do the adult division.
Good luck.
You're going against a kid who's been training for 8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
Like dad's making him go to jiu-jitsu and he's like, I want to play fucking video games. No, we're going to train. And he's just like, for 10 years of grappling and you're going to roll with them, you're going to get smoked. Yeah. These adult blue belts are a problem.
Yeah, they don't quite have the strength yet, but they definitely have the gas tank. They got the cardio. They got the speed. And
the two hardest divisions.
Dude, I've seen a lot of younger guys. Yeah.
Adult blue, and then I would say maybe adult black, obviously, because look at, like I have said, like I'm about to get my second degree, but like Poncho, our instructor, he's been training at black belt longer than I've been training. So the depth of the guy you could fight
totally
is huge. Adult blue, and then a kid, he's been training for 10 years. There's as big as, the gaps between those two are just tremendous.
Yeah.
You get more fair rounds around purple or brown belt. You get more fair, you know, at least like the guy, the adult blue who's a purple now, he's got 15 years in, but at least you've got 7 years in at purple.
Yeah.
So you can you have your game.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with that totally.
What injuries, have you had any injuries? What's the biggest obstacles throughout your jiu-jitsu journey? Injuries, schedule, stuff like that?
Yeah. So yeah, I've had shoulder surgery on my left. Well, so first I partially tore my pectoral tendon. I actually did it lifting. I did it lifting, and then I had a tournament that I was already signed up for, and it was like a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, and I was a blue belt at the time, and in my early 20s at the time, and not smart at the time, more dumber. And I was like, I'm going to do the tournament anyways. I'm not, not backing down.
Right.
So dumb. And I remember, so it's partially torn already, but not like crazy bad. And I was holding a guy in side control and like kind of almost like working towards like a cradle type thing. And winning. He just like and he like, extends back, and I could hear it go.
Oh.
And then it went like real bad tear. So then that took me out for a while. And then
did you win the match?
I did win the match, yeah.
So you stayed on top.
yeah.
And then you're like, I don't got another one left. That's it.
Yeah, won the match, won the battle, lost the war, because then I was about 6 months out from that torn pec. And then that same side, my left side, I got surgery on my anterior and posterior labrum, and that was in 2018. I got that surgery. That was like right after I got my brown belt, and then like a month or two later, I got my shoulder surgery. So then that was out for probably like another 6 months. And then most recently, like the worst injury I've had that kept me off the mats for like about a year was like a really bad herniated disc, L5S1 extrusion herniation. And that one really fucked me up. That was like
invert a lot.
Dude, I mean, I don't not, but it's not my game. I'm not like a berimbolo player.
You're not a guy that likes to get upside down.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, what that was with the back was just like, it was just like a compounding injury. It was just, I had I kind of fucked my back up a little in the military, and then, obviously like have to do certain things throughout the military. And then also like my main hobby being training and just being dumb and having times where I should have definitely taken off, not gone to training that day. But jiu-jitsu is super fun and it's super addictive, and the desire to improve at it is very alluring. And so just being dumb and like continually like training through times when I should have definitely been resting my body, and did that enough times. And then, it was a common thing. My back would go out. I'd be off the mat for like a week or two, it'd heal, I'd get back in, and then it'd be good. So it was like back injuries were common, but then this one was like really bad. And so that's when it was a year. I'm assuming you have some.
We got Kenny's dog over here just going fucking.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just going to town on herself right now, dude.
Zoe.
I can't. I'm trying to keep a straight face here. And then this chick's just going munch town over here. I feel you, Zoe. It's tough being a dog right now.
If I could, I would.
Yeah, I got 3 dogs at home too, so it's I'm definitely not offended by a little self-fellation.
And you gotta get yours in, girl.
Yeah, bro. I'd do it if I could. I feel you.
Yeah, hey, Kenny took a rib out.
It's like Marilyn Manson over here.
Hey, that's a joke. Before the pod, Kenny told me that he has a human rib on the wall.
He has a human rib on the wall.
Right here.
This is
a human
rib
that he has on the wall.
His own rib.
You got to get it done. Get it in when you can. Just like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Let me see. What questions do we have here?
I got one. So Veterans Day just passed. As a veteran, do you feel you obviously you trained while you're in and whatnot. I see a lot of guys start training afterwards.
Yeah.
And my theory that I brought up in a prior pod was you got a lot of guys that are in the military. They travel. They the PCS to some place that they're not familiar with. They have no family there. They make friends with the people that are there. They get out of the military. They stay because that's where the people they know are if they don't want to go back home.
Right.
And then those people PCS out and now they're alone. So now they've got their community is shrunk.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people reach out to jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of veterans in jiu-jitsu, a lot of law enforcement, things like that, and like communities. And there tends to be kind of like a similar camaraderie or feeling. And my thought on it is there's a certain bond amongst veterans that's like a trauma bonding aspect through just the day-to-day life of being in the military, basic training, things like that. And then I feel like there's also a certain trauma bonding aspect of like, mat time. You're essentially trying to kill somebody and they're trying to kill you. And it's struggle and it's hard and it sucks and you suck and then you get better and then you get beat down again because somebody else is better. And there's just that, that kind of back and forth. Do you feel any sort of like, do you train it with a lot of veterans or?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of veterans at my gym. I train at Victory MMA and, we've got the Jocko draw. So you have a lot of guys, a lot of veterans come in there. And then, being in military towns over the years, like a lot of the gyms that I've been at have had other, military guys in there. And, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. And I think, you got organizations like We Defy that are really tapping into that. And for veterans, that is exactly what you explained, like, guys that get out and basically, a lot of people when they're in the military, that is their identity. It's like what they do. It's like it's obviously their job, but like all their friends are from the military. It's what they talk about. It's the stuff they're interested in. And so if you're really identifying with being in the military and then for whatever reason, you get out, like that is a hard transition. I've talked about this before, but like for me, I was always deep into jiu-jitsu. So like when I separated from the military, like I had like such a life outside of the military that it wasn't that big of a deal. I had a lot of friends through jiu-jitsu, so for me personally, because of jiu-jitsu mostly, like it wasn't, I didn't go through that, feeling of being a little like lost and without, but I think that there's probably nothing better in the world. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, like, there's a natural grit for people, you've got to be a little bit tough to want to do that, to want to join the military. And so you've got to be a little bit tough to want to go and strangle other grown men as your, fun hobby. So I think there's like natural parallels between the two. So if there's veterans that have never trained and they're getting out and they're confused and lost or whatever, looking for like friendships and there's no better, like it's so easy to make friends through jiu-jitsu because you have that natural, like, you have to trust each other immediately off the bat. Like I've got to, we have to have some mutual trust. Like, hey, we're not going to break each other here. Like we're not going to kill each other. So and you're immediately like sweating in each other's mouths. Like you're just like, you're breaking a lot of like social norms between like when you would first like start to talk to someone. And so like that kind of like that initial wall is sort of non-existent within jiu-jitsu. And then I don't know, jiu-jitsu people just tend to be friendly and cool. And it's just like, it's a really,
I don't want to say so. It weeds out douchebags. I don't want to,
no, they're,
I don't want to get, hey,
I've got a theory on that too, that because people, say that a lot, but there are people that are just stubborn as fuck.
Right.
So you can be a douchebag that's really stubborn and make it through jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
and then you are just an empowered douchebag by the end of it. Now, I think that's a small percentage of people in the community. But those definitely exist. Like it does not completely destroy your ego. It doesn't weed out all the douchebags. Those stubborn motherfuckers can stay and persist and then just get better at,
So tell us how's the Jocko Smoke?
Jocko Smoke. The Jocko Smoke's real. The Jocko Smoke's real.
The Jocko Smoke is real.
I was catching some Jocko Smoke earlier today.
Big
and yesterday.
Heavy pressure smash.
Yeah. I mean, dude. Yeah, if you're Jocko's legit. Jocko and Jocko loves jiu-jitsu. Like when he's in town, like he is training. He's the one, like we got a group text going. He's the one putting out like the text, like, let's get it, this time today, boys. Like here we go. We're gonna train. Good. Yeah.
That's way cooler than our group text. Yeah. Our group text is like, that's like 4 a.m. Good.
Well, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Whoa. Huh?
Yeah, I'm the one like sending cat gifs in that group and stuff. So I try to bring it down, make it a little lamer. But yeah, dude, Jocko's the man. And he's probably the best 52-year-old that I've ever trained with. You know,
man,
and he's gonna fuck most people up.
He's
on
in
the
great
mats.
shape. Strickland, the champion, showed up a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Did you get any Strickland smoke?
I didn't get any Strickland smoke. You know, that's a situation when, you know, and because of Jocko, it's really cool. And actually the Strickland thing was not because of Jocko. Strickland came in to Victory MMA like on a random Tuesday, just like during the day. And one of the coaches, my friend Adam, who's like one of the coaches at Victory, one of the black belts, was like, "Hey man," and he was like, "Hey man, yeah, I just used to train here. I was just like, I was thinking about popping in, like, what's going on?" And there wasn't really like a class going on at the time. He was just trying to come in and hop in a class. Like that's what Sean Strickland did. So, and Adam was like, he's like, "Yeah, there's not really anything going on." He's like, "Tomorrow we have like a black belt. We have like a black belt training session. Like if you wanna." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll come in." And sure enough, dude, he just shows up. So he just wandered in because he used to train there back in the day and just like hopped in. And then after our jiu-jitsu sesh was over, there was just like a normal, like a Muay Thai sparring class going on, like anyone can hop in, regular old class, like someone that's just like, I want to learn Muay Thai, and they just got their new pair of hand wraps and they're getting, and Sean Strickland's like, "Oh, you guys are sparring?" He's like, "I'll join." And they just went in and then it just started just sparring like total hobbyists. And then there was like a video of him training, and it was like kind of a point where he was like lighting up this dude a little bit.
Big dude.
Yeah. And then I heard that I think this is what I heard, that guy basically told him, "Hey, I want to be a pro. Like, don't take it easy on me. Like, I'm not going to take it easy on you. Like, let's get it," kind of thing. So out of context, it might have looked like Sean Strickland was just like beating up some hobbyists.
But I'm going to tell you this right now.
Like cardio kickboxing kid. But I think it was like
I've trained with Sean many a time.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't afraid. He's okay with beating up hobbyists.
He
has no problem. Dude.
I believe that.
Say less. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. I've seen him just like, "Oh, your girlfriend's here today? I'm gonna beat your ass." Yeah. And oh, she's watching? All right.
Yeah.
When I'm the kind of guy that's like, "Oh, your girlfriend's here, I'm gonna make you look good, dude."
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Well,
I'm trying to
right.
Sean's like, "Oh, no.
Yeah, your kid's
You're
watching.
getting that fucking smoke."
Yeah, I'm gonna destroy you in front of your child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your dad's beta.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, that's like, damn, dude. Like,
Son, would you like a new father?
I am your daddy now. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, we get a lot of so cool people coming in the gym pretty often, and I'm just it's like when these guys are in there, they want to train with Jocko, they want to train with Dean. So if they look at me and they want to get around, like, yeah, I'd love to, but I'm not trying to like approach people and be like.
So besides Dean and Jocko, who is the most famous guy in the space or that you've got the spar with? It could be Muay Thai too.
We got a cool relationship with the Legion guys. So those guys like Sloan and Miha are good training partners of mine. They come in all the time. Keenan comes in from time to time. So I've trained with Keenan
awesome too.
And I go over to Legion a little bit too now. So could train with them a little bit. The Rotolo brothers were just in recently, like a month ago.
Are they from San Diego?
Yeah, they're from, I believe they're from Oceans, or no, Orange County. They're from Orange County, but they live in La Jolla.
If you ever see them roll, they don't hold back on each other.
No, dude, those guys, and they're cool as shit.
It's like they only can roll once a week.
Yeah,
because they know like,
well, yeah,
it's the fight. Like the fight is on. Like I was like, these guys are about to throw punches on each other. Like if they're going at it so hard when they spar each other.
I've seen videos of them throwing punches on each other. Yeah,
that's crazy. And they've been doing that every day, every week.
I mean, could you imagine having like another version of yourself basically that you could just train with?
And I think that's another reason, like you were saying, why jiu-jitsu is so good for vets and bonding is because you could hate somebody, and I'm not saying they hate each other, they love each other, they're brothers. But like, say me and Kenny have beef and we're talking shit, we fist fight. Next thing you know, we're cool afterwards.
Yeah.
So instantly, the new guy comes in, he rolls with a guy. It's a simulated fight. You guys are cool because you just did something. And I think that's just like code in like fighting. Like right after the fight, you're good.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, oh, in MMA or UFC, these two guys talked a lot of shit, and then after the fight, they're like hugging each other and stuff like that. It's like they were just putting on the fight for money. Maybe sometimes, but sometimes after a fight, the respect is there, and
Right.
then you get that bond.
Totally.
So I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing of why, vets love the combat and love the battle.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think as guys, like, there's nothing better than that. Just to get it out. It's like there's an I don't know. It's like if you're meeting, you meet people that don't train, or you meet, it's like there's always like every guy is like, if it came down to it, could I fuck this guy up or not?
Oh, you
like,
size
you
everybody.
walk into a room, you're sizing people up. So it's like you're just going, and then in a gym, you just get to make it not that big of a deal and just get it out of the way.
My wife's
and
been
then,
talking shit
laugh
on these
about it.
certain people at her job for
Come
like
to the gym. Fight 'em.
7 years.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, fucking bitch, she did it again. I can't believe it. I'm like, well, talk to her about it. No. I'm like, oh, dude, like, if you just talk one time, like, hey, we're good. Like, confront her.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, girls won't let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think too, like training and just like knowing how to handle yourself, like it allows you to operate in the world from a much better place. So you're less likely to get into those initial altercations or like be ugly with people or what. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I would probably be like a bigger asshole, and you're kind of like a little more self-conscious, and it's like it kind of like having the ability to handle yourself in a situation like that, like you just can kind of be at ease, and you can kind of present yourself as the best version of yourself because there's not this like underlying bit of fear that like resonates throughout your life. Like I was talking to my friends about this yesterday, and just how like I think a lot of people in day-to-day life are just a little worried, and if something pops off, not even just how you're gonna like physically be able to operate like in a fight, but even just being familiar with kind of something as chaotic as a full-blown role, like just being familiar with violence, being familiar with like pushing yourself. And it's like, if you're not in those situations often, you're always going to wonder how will I act if that situation is forced upon me.
Right.
So like being able to
never felt
operate in the
it.
world and knowing how you're going to do in that, and like knowing that you're familiar, and like, yeah, I can't kick everybody's ass in the world, but like I got a much better chance than most people.
We
like,
don't know
I'm
if we're going
chilling.
to win the fight, but we've been studying for the test.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to
We've
put
been
it.
studying for the SATs for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why competition is good. Maybe
Totally.
if you don't want to be a competitive jiu-jitsu person all the time, but take one every once in a while. It's like the parallel. We had a conversation about like guns and shooting a couple episodes ago and whatnot. And it's like I could go to the range and train reloads and fake jams and everything like that. But until I'm actually in a situation where someone's shooting back at me, like I don't know how I'm actually going to fare in that situation. I've never been in an actual firefight.
There's a difference between hitting pads
Right.
and then blocking.
Totally.
And then training in your gym, getting this, your gym smoke and whatnot. It's like, yeah, you may do fairly well, but I've also had time to develop my game and tested it against your game, and then I figure out what your game is, and it's like now I've got a different answer versus if we were just in a competition, I'd never seen you before, and I don't know what you bring to the table, you don't know what I bring to the table. It's kind of like that's your test.
Yeah.
Because you get the guys who lift and that's all they do, and they think they can beat everybody up.
Yeah.
Like, who's that guy? But I'm 260, bro. What's that guy?
Bradley Martin.
Bradley
yeah,
Martin, right?
yeah,
yeah.
But I'm 260,
I'm
bro.
260, bro.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, that's great.
I love Nate Diaz's response to him. I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of guys who are just big, strong guys think they can beat up most guys, and maybe they can beat up the average guy who doesn't train at all or lift.
Well, they always say like, well, if I got my hands on you, if I got my arms around you, it's just like,
Yeah. Well, then
Yeah.
I'm going to break your arm.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, my whole core versus your elbow.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone should compete at least once. I think
Yeah.
just to have that experience, it's a beneficial tool to have in your toolkit of life.
Yeah, well, it's been awesome having Noah on the podcast. Where can they find you? How can we
Yeah. Got anything you want to plug? Any
plug
drops?
anything?
coming?
Website, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, everything's Flowhold. The website's Flowhold SD, like Flowhold San Diego. Instagram, Flowhold. You can find me on there. I'm the guy answering DMs and stuff. So hit me up. Shoot us a follow. It helps.
Yeah, cool.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
everybody who follows BJJ Balance in Oast Nation,
Yeah.
give Noah a follow. it's been an honor having you on here, brother. Like, we love your stuff. We love your gear, all that good stuff. Hearing your story, hearing your origin story, it's been pretty cool. And we should do it again, definitely.
Dude, I would love that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for having me in, guys.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Again, like the podcast, follow the podcast on all the socials, Os Nation, at Os Nation BJJ, at The Freak Party, at Flow Hold. This is the BJJ Balance podcast, and we'll catch you around. Os.